Hi there, viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news. We begin right away with our major stories. As usual, Equinoxe Television is prepared more than ever before for the World Cup competition that begins this weekend in Qatar. And a 15-man delegation of Equinoxe Television today left their headquarters here in Douala for Abu Dhabi to Qatar, where they will be giving you guys minute-by-minute updates of the World Cup competition, which begins this weekend in Qatar. And also in this newscast, we tell you that infant mortality is one of the major problems faced by the entire African continent. It is caused by insufficient knowledge in reproductive health. Those are our major stories. Welcome back, viewers. To begin this edition of the news in health, we told you in the headlines a while ago that infant mortality, that is the death of newborn babies, is one of the major problems faced by health experts in the entire African continent, and it is said to be caused by insufficient knowledge in reproductive health. As a means to address the problem, a seminar organized by the World Health Organization with some health experts took place in Douala, and our staff lady Lucy Liengu Esie was there. She now tells us more.
Recently, reports from the World Health Organization revealed that women in the sub-Saharan Africa face some of the greatest sexual and reproductive challenges in the world. African women have the highest fertility rate, highest HIV infection rate, highest risk of dying during childbearing, and they have the highest unmet need for contraceptives. To address these problems, the World Health Organization, together with some health experts from 8 African countries, have met to discuss on the way forward.
The objective of the workshop is actually the third, is to build capacity of national officers who are working in the area of reproductive health, maternal, newborn, adolescent and child health, in 2 main areas: advocacy and political dialogue. And why is it important is so that the investment, the attention of the leadership in countries, particularly the Ministry of Health, but also other ministries, Ministry of Finance, etc., can do more investment in making sure that this population, women, children, adolescents and newborn, access quality services. And this is very important because we see progress in our countries, but the progress is slow.
According to the 2022 maternal mortality report, 42,760 women died during childbirth. Health experts say one of the root causes is a reduction in the use of family planning.
Most of African countries need to accelerate the reduction of maternal mortality by around 10% per year. But from the period from 2017, we have reduced on average by 2.9. So we need to speed up seriously. There is 47 million women who want to delay or to stop childbearing, but are not accessing to modern contraceptive. And a multitude of needs of adolescents are not known or are not taken care of. So we need to accelerate, to work together to accelerate all these.
The seminar, which will last for 3 days, has as aim strengthening the capacity of African countries for a better and quality reproductive health.
And members of the economic and financial reforms programs of the economic community and monetary community, PREF-CEMAC, wants to introduce a new integrative project for the sub-region. This comes after a special meeting which took place in Brazzaville. Let's now have more with a staff man for me, Armstrong Sander.
In an extraordinary meeting expected to run from November 15 to 17, 2022, members of the economic and financial reform programs of the CEMAC sub-region, PREF-CEMAC, say evaluating the implementation of the sub-region's integrative reforms is key on the menu. Professor Sirinjana Wembo, PREF-CEMAC's permanent secretary, says it is important to see what has been done practically since the introduction of the project. Members say the Brazzaville Rendezvous will also be used to brainstorm on the putting in place of a new set of priority integrative projects for the sub-region, the Central African Economic and Monetary Community, CEMAC. Tipping into the new program, Pref CEMAC says the package will constitute a focus on infrastructural development tailored to support the development and competitive nature of the sub-region's brand, the development of human capital, the production of stable energy supply, the expansion of import substitution, and more. Pref CEMAC by extension calls on locals and foreign investors to make use of the numerous business opportunities offered by the sub-region in its post-COVID-19 recovery strategy. Pref CEMAC was set up by heads of state to face a severe economic crisis faced by CEMAC member countries in mid-2014. For me, I'm Sean Sander, Equinoxe Radio, Douala.
And there is severe water crisis in Jenka. Jenka is a locality or a village in the northwest region of the country. Taps have reportedly gone dry, exposing the local population of that village to waterborne diseases, and some health experts decided or took the initiative to school the local inhabitants on how to disinfect water for it to become potable or before they can consume it. Let's now have more with our regional correspondent, Stella. She tells us more from Bamenda.
It is the dry season in Cameroon, a period characterized by high temperatures and no rainfall. In most parts of the northwest region, access to potable water is regarded as a luxury only a few can afford. This as water bodies are disappearing and taps are running dry.
I already made up my mind that I'll cut down my expenditure in order that I can hire a bike from time to time to get drinking water for me. And we manage the water. It's like we recycle water. You wash dresses and keep. In the course of visiting the restroom, you now use it to flush.
We will be paid by from here to overside for go carry water, and then for bushes, we will be gathered around, water them be dry.
In Jenka, a desperate community in Bali, near Bamenda, the regional capital, the biting water scarcity is blamed for the high rates of consultations linked to the consumption of water from unclean sources.
Averagely a month we can have about 20% diagnosed with typhoid, which is attributed to poor hygiene and maybe drinking contaminated water.
To reduce the impacts of the dry season on the community, nurses of the community's health center have often sensitized the inhabitants on how best to treat water before consumption. The residents now say they have looked for other sources as water is scarce in the dry season, despite promises of politicians every election year.
In Cameroon in general, it's a disgrace the way populations are treated as far as water is concerned. So when we have a project like this where water has been donated to the health center, we thank the donors.
This water point is serving the hospital, the church, the school, and these other heads along the road is for the general population.
This water point to serve the Jenka community and beyond is largely not enough for the ever-growing population, but it is regarded as a step towards reducing the occurrence of waterborne diseases in the community.
And now we come back to this news segment, in which says the arrested Secretary General of the PAP, the Popular Action Party, and the President of the PMSC political party, they were arrested over the weekend after a meeting in Bunadberry, but were finally released. And the arrest came after the two political parties decided to form an alliance or a coalition. Let's now have more of that story with a reporter for me, Armstrong Sander.
Coming in prelude to the 2025 electoral year, the Popular Action Party, the PAP, and the Patriotic Movement for the Salvation of Cameroon, the PMSC political parties, say their alliance is a foundation for the desired change in Cameroon.
We have been doing a lot together, and today we decided to make it open to the media that we are working in the alliance. And I want to let Cameroonians know that the alliance that we have sealed today is going to open the way for other people to join us, so that together we can work and bring the expected change that many Cameroonians have been vying for.
Conscious of the tough mechanism of the ruling CPDM party and the repeated failure of the opposition in 40 years, President Abubakar Siddiqui of the PMSC party says they have adopted a change in approach.
Nous faisons face à une dictature de 40 ans qui s'appuie sur l'organisation.
He says Cameroon for 40 years has been under a kind of dictatorship where state apparatus are used by the regime to handicap the opposition.
Un politicien qui vous dira qu'il va faire cavalier seul jusqu'à la victoire est un usurpateur.
Their hope is to expand the alliance to other opposition political parties for a stronger opposition bloc come 2025 for the presidential, senatorial, parliamentary, regional and municipal elections.
Les Camerounais peuvent nous faire confiance.
The PAP-MPSC official alliance in Douala also saw the installation of the PAP party officials for the Littoral Regional Congress.
Yes, I've been called to take the mandate to manage Littoral, and I just want to bless God because we have the right people around to be able to help pilot the right things of the country. And it's a mandate that automatically has to bring joy not just to me, but to the nation as a whole.
Cameroon counts over 300 legalized political parties opposing the ruling CPDM for over 40 years. While some observers see that as a plus to the country's democracy, others see it as a weapon used by the ruling party to continuously disperse and dominate the opposition.
And we will be talking more on that in the second part of the news. And now we talk something else. Moral decadence in schools in most big cities across Cameroon is said to be on the rise. And sociologists say it is because of parental carelessness and also inadequate media content as well as peer pressure. One of the most recent cases is that of students who were caught in Sangmelima in sexual deviance. Let's now have more with Immaculate Fogwe.
Sociologists are blaming parents, teachers and the government for the rising moral decadence in Cameroon. Analyzing the recent case of students of Government High School Sangmelima in the South region practicing immorality, Jonathan Befengene, a sociologist, says parents, teachers and the government have failed in their duties. I blame the government because it does not regulate the type of content watched by children like it is done in other countries. You see children of 15 years old watching pornographic films. What are they expecting? Parents should equally be blamed because they don't take out time to train their children.
Ça doit être systématique. Les temps de présence.
According to Jonathan Batengene, this is a clear indication that the morals of our society are fading, a situation which, if not handled early enough, may deteriorate further.
La vidéosurveillance est déjà utilisée pour la lutte contre.
Surveillance cameras need to be installed in school milieux in order to detect fishy activities carried out by students. Teachers have to monitor the number of absences of students because it is when they are absent that such terrible acts occur.
Rappeler aux élèves qui n'ont plus le droit d'être dans les salles.
According to Jonathan Batengene, fighting this rising phenomenon entails collective efforts between parents, school authorities and the government in bringing these youths to the right path.
And now we take you out of our national frontiers. We take you first to neighboring Central African Republic, where a spokesperson for the presidency in the Central African Republic has denied that President Faustin Archange Touadéra was evacuated to Rwanda. That was on Sunday for medical treatment after a serious fall. Central African Republic and international media widely circulated the news after a pro-opposition website claimed Mr. Touadéra was injured in a serious fall in the capital, Bangui, and flown to Rwanda. The presidency spokesperson, Albert Yaloke, expressed astonishment at the claim and said the president was at work. And in Bangui, the president, he said, has just arrived in his office. There were information that Korbo news put online is false and only concerns itself. We are astonished by such information that is according to the Central African Republic's presidency. And we told you on the headlines, viewers, that Equinoxe Television is prepared more than ever before for the World Cup competition to take place in Qatar. It begins over the weekend. It will begin over the weekend, and a 15-man delegation from Equinoxe Radio and Television left the company's headquarters this afternoon or this morning for the airport from where they will be leaving for Abu Dhabi, from there to Qatar, and they will be giving you minute by minute details of the competition in Qatar. As Staff Lazy Malak Glory spoke with some of our reporters that was at the airport on their way to Abu Dhabi, her reports.
Well equipped and ready to give their viewers the best of images and information on the upcoming FIFA World Cup. These are reporters of Equinoxe Television, 15 in number and deployed to Qatar to cover the World Cup. Fans of Equinoxe Television gathered at the main office in Aqua Douala to see of their favorites. The reporters on such an assignment say,
well, I must say I am very, very delighted for Equinoxe Television to choose me among those who will be covering the World Cup. It's a great honor to me, and I must say it's one of the challenging tasks I'm going to carry out since I became a journalist. It's more than 10 years that I started practicing.
Despite the challenges they may encounter as they cover the event, Equinoxe Sport journalists promise to give just the best to the million viewers out there.
It's going to be a challenge, and I am promising that it is the best I'm going to give to everyone who is going to watch, and certainly going to remain keen to Equinoxe Television, to tell the televiewers that Equinoxe is going to give them just the best of coverage at the World Cup that will start soon in Qatar.
These journalists going to Qatar have a great support from the entire institution.
As you see behind me, it's a delegation of 15 member journalists and technicians who are going to the Qatar for this 22nd edition of the World Cup. Our last experience was in 2014 in Brazil. They did their best. We have newcomers, but I know what they can do, what they can bring to televiewers.
The first set of reporters leave this Tuesday, while the second leaves on Thursday to Doha to cover at least 64 matches for a month.
Thank you, Glory, for such reports, and good luck. Safe journey to our battery of brave reporters who are on their way to Qatar. Viewers, just stay tuned, as the best is just going to be ahead. That's it for this edition of the news. The first part of it. The second part is Talking Point. It comes up next. Stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest on Talking Points tonight is Fabrice Lena. He is the Secretary General of the Popular Action Party. It is an opposition party in Cameroon. We told you in the course of the news that over the weekend, Fabrice Lena and another party with which they were forming an alliance or a coalition were arrested and taken to the Bonasama gendarmerie, but were later released. So we caught up with Fabrice Lena to tell us what actually happened. Fabrice, good evening. Thank you so much for accepting to talk with us on Talking Points tonight. You are the Secretary General of the Popular Action Party, which is an opposition party in Cameroon. Can you tell us what actually transpired over the weekend, that is before your arrest?
I was with MPSC, that is the party of Abubakar Siddiqui, a friend from extreme north. We've been working together for some time now, and he invited me for a meeting with traditional authority and Bobonaberi Douala. So as a political friend and a comrade that we work together, I honored his invitation, so I left Yaoundé. I attended the meeting in my quality as the Secretary General of the PAP and a political comrade and a friend. So it was supposed to take place in the private residence of this traditional authority who is coming from the extreme north and is staying at Ndobo behind Petrolex. So while we were there, I got information that the police had come there earlier in the morning to say that the meeting would not take place because the mobilization was showing a tendency of high number of participants, even though in the private residence. So around 2 p.m. we were there, and the scenario was that police are present, and we had the conversation with the police that were present. The images were clearly there, and we spoke with the divisionnaire of that area. Sidiki had a phone call with him. Subsequently, we agreed that we would not hold a meeting again, since perhaps the number of people that are with us is more than that required for a private residence meeting as they claim. And we decided to go back. So at that point, Sidiki said, okay, I'm sorry, my friend, and just get into the car, let's go back. There were about 20 or more bikes and about 4 cars. So while going back, it was a convoy. So this convoy left Bonaberi, Dobo, and was heading for the direction of Ndokuti, where Sidiki stays. And while going back, he categorically mentioned to the militants, no provocation, no noise, we are going back home to have a dinner and then we separate. And along the way, the highway around Bonasama, before you cross the bridge, the gendarme and the police barricaded the roads as we were coming in that huge crowd. The crowd was neither doing a chanting nor walking nor carrying placards. You know, it was a convoy accompanying the national president of a party and the secretary general of a party who went to visit the traditional authority and were denied the access to that residence because it was thought that we ought to have authorization even for a private residence meeting based on the claims of the police there. So at the barricades, we were told that this is a public manifestation from observation. We said no, on the contrary, it's a simple convoy accompanying us back home because this is the direction going back to Sidiki's place. And at this point, there was tension, there was emotion, because issues of the 1990 laws of freedom of association and the question of repression and the ability of political party leaders to also mobilize their militants and move freely become some of the preoccupations that we had at that point. And in the confrontations, the gendarmes and the police say we had to follow them. Some of the militants started because the gendarmes were already saying that the militants were rowdy and had to be dispersed. The guy said no, it's not possible. And in that environment, some of them had confrontations, verbal confrontations with the police and the gendarmes, and 2 or 3 of them were taken to the car of the gendarme. And at that point, we say it's impossible for us to go without them. And that's where all of us were embarked. And we were taken into 2 different camps. Some people were taken to the gendarmerie, while others in the police station. I particularly was taken to the police station with 6 of our militants, while Sidiki was taken to the gendarmerie. So at the police station, I had to...
Okay, Fabrice Elena, your party, the PAP, the Popular Action Party, is a recognized political party in Cameroon, yet your meeting was disrupted somehow. What was the agenda? Could it be that the agenda was problematic or controversial?
Well, the agenda of the meeting was simply to meet with the traditional authority, a traditional authority, a Lamido. You know, most Muslim traditional authorities are at the same time religious authorities. So he invited President Sidiki, and President Sidiki also invited me. We have been working like that over time. Last Saturday, we were at Bonapriso when we were installing our regional congress of Littoral. We also invited him, he came. You know, we've been doing like that because that is what Cameroonians have been clamoring for, that opposition don't want to work together. So the PAP and MPSC had established that ground of working together and then commemorating on issues of common interest, because basically we have the same political project and the same political agenda. So we were going there to discuss with this traditional authority and to also tell him our own political project and political agenda as young politicians. So this was the agenda. This is what Sidiki told me. And he said we will be there with a couple of our militants, about 50 to 60. And I said, okay, then that's not bad, because it is a large compound. Lamido's compound take more than 100 people sometimes. It depends on the magnitude of the events there. So that's the agenda of the program. There was nothing.
Yes, Fabrice, you met in a private residence or a private compound, but you are a political, or you are a member of a political party. Did you guys get authorization for that meeting?
There is nothing as authorization, or you know, this is becoming a norm. You know, there's nothing like authorization of meeting in the private residence of a traditional and religious authority. There is nothing like that. Go and read the 1990 laws. Let Cameroonians read these laws. What makes me so angry is the fact that these guys make it now the new law, like it's what it's supposed to be. That is not true. There is nothing like that. It's just like the Lamido of Ray in Extreme North invited Mr. Afambia to come to his palace. Did he take authorization to anyone? Was the authorization declaration read to anyone? That's a question mark.
Also, we want to know, was your arrest in connection to the alliance or the coalition you were forming with the Patriotic Movement for Cameroonian Salvation of Abubakar Sidiki?
Yeah, that's true, because, you know, the political party in power, it's a weak one, and they play to cowardice, because you can't say you're powerful, strong, and you have national coverage using mockery statements like small political parties when it comes to opposition, but yet you see opposition trying to form coalition, alliance, working together, and you use all the measures to say that they cannot hold their own meeting in the private residence. I think that the alliance that we officialized was a signal to say that Cameroonians no longer want to be in the modus operandi of divide and rule, which has been a successful method of conservation of power by the regime in place. You know, so we want to overcome that. We want to challenge that. We are putting Cameroonians to say that the North, which is one of the greatest bastion of electoral support in Cameroon, and the PAP, with the security challenges of the Anglophone crisis, have decided to merge forces. And therefore, we are now looking for other forces within the other areas of this country that we could form the triangle of a united force for the next electoral season. Because our objective is to say we will not in any way accept any unconstitutional transfer of power. Intimidation will not take us aback. It will not make us to give up. That is something we will not accept, not in my name. Yes, this generation will not accept something again that will be unconstitutional, a kind of arrangement to put someone that do not merit, which do not follow the constitution. Please, we will not accept that. Let Cameroonians know that it will be their future they are mortgaging. I won't mortgage my future. And the PAP and MPSC is saying this to everyone, because that's our key message of alliance. And apart from that, we have similar political agenda for a new federal.
And now, Mr. Secretary General, are you trying to say that the alliance between the two parties, yours and that of Abubakar Sidiki, could be seen as a threat by the party in power?
It's evident. It's evident. Why? Because you see, PAP and MPSC are parties that have over time shown consistency, credibility, and political maturity in front of Cameroonians. We have not given up any of our agenda, our projects, our plans, our ideology, our words. No, we are on the line and we talk based on the feeling of the people. A politician is someone who knows the feeling of the people. As conditions of the country are changing and the feeling of the people is towards a particular preoccupation, we adapt to it. A politician is someone who has to change consistently with the feeling of the people, and that's what PAP and MPSA is doing. The people of Cameroon feel that there should be alliance, there should be coalition among opposition. The people of Cameroon feel that opposition should have a united candidate. The people of Cameroon feel that opposition ought to do more to mobilize the people, to engage young people in civic and political participation, but also to tell young people to get their voters card in case of any impromptu elections, in case of maintenance of the calendar of elections by 2025, So all these things are what the people are anticipating, they are feeling, and we are thus doing these things accordingly. But we appear to be that political force that might put the Yaoundé regime in a malalaise condition, as they say it, and that is why they want to do everything to subjugate, to repress, and put us in the condition of being afraid or to be intimidated, so that we could give up what we are fighting for.
All right, we invited you because you were arrested, so later released. We might want to know, and our viewers might also want to know, what were some of the prison conditions you found yourselves in. It's true you weren't really imprisoned, but you were kept for some time there at Bonasama in Bonaberi. And prior to your release, did you have to sign any document like an undertaking or so?
Well, for the team that I was with, we were 6 of us. Sidiki's team were at the gendarmerie, about I think 9 or more of them. I do not know the exact number that were with Sidiki, but in my own team there were 6 plus myself, And our own was a normal police procedure of registering us with the ID card, and then we transferred from Bonasama to Bonanjo at the judicial police. And while at the judicial police, we are having enquêteurs, investigators, detectives, and then they ask us the question and everything about what went on individually. And a couple of lawyers came to be with the militants, but myself, I was alone, so I had to defend myself, to say exactly what happened, which was nothing out of law. Rather, on the contrary, it is the barricade of the gendarme and the police that caused a kind of turbulent accumulation of people at that point of Bonasama that caused traffic and so on and so forth. So our own conditions were not terrible. We had no confrontations, physical confrontations. But in the gendarmerie, I learned Sticky and his team had that. So in our own team, that was what was done. But using this to thank human rights and pressmen and political friends and comrades, because immediately as we were at Bonasama, we had to stimulate the network of communicators for these people to understand, and the only language our government understands is pressure. And when we were at the judicial police, at a particular point, they say, okay, they have received instructions from Yaoundé to release us. So that's just what happened around 10 p.m.
And Fabrice, this is my last question, or my last but one question. Your political party, yours and that of Abubakar Siddiqui, can be relatively considered as a young party without a lot of mobilization like the ruling party. Do you think your party or whatever you're doing can have any impact on the ruling party which already has its grounds firm in the country?
It's already having an impact. That's why they did not want us to mobilize. Madam Anne, we are in a period where competitive politics should be allowed. We are in a period where we should be promoting constitutional democracy. We cannot have 300 and something political parties, and a political party comes up, wants to hold a meeting. The militants accompany the leaders in a convoy, and you say it is a problem. How is that a problem? How is that disturbing public order? No one died in the circumstance. No one hurt in the circumstance. No one reported a situation in the circumstance. After our discussion with the divisionaire at the residence of the traditional authority, we asked him, please, accompany us like you do with other people. It is mutual understanding. It's dialogue. You know, administration is not c'est l'État. Who is l'État? L'État c'est nous, l'État c'est vous, l'État is everybody. The state is everyone. It's not a particular political party or a particular group of people, you know. We are already having impact. Our impact is already felt. We've done a great job within the last 3 months, the PAP and the MPSC. It's just now we are coming to the media. We've been in Marwa, we've been in Garwa, we've been in Gaundere, we've been in Maiganga, we've been in all these north regions. We've made a tour there. We were in Likoko, in Munyenge, in Southwest, in Limbe, in Boya. We've been in these places that we could access. That is the mobilization we are doing on the ground. We have a clear message to the people. PAP and MPSC stands for a new federal republic, where there will be constitutional democracy, there will be competitive politics, there will be limited office mandates, there will be strong institutions. We will not have appointed officials overriding the actions of elected officials. All the appointed officials need to disappear. This is what we are talking about. This is the kind of government we want. This is the kind of state that PAP and MPS is preaching to Cameroonians. It's left for them to judge, to see what is good for them. We will not continue to be in a system where a mayor will get direct universal suffrage elections from the population, and his action is counteracted by an appointed GO by the president, who is there to do the whims and caprices of the president. It's no more. It's an archaic and antiquity administration, colonial administration. It do not fit again in the 21st century.
And now, Fabrice Lena, before we go, you are one of the leaders of a political party, and election in Cameroon would be soon. That would be in 2 years, 3 years or so. Was your last meeting yet in that direction?
We are conscious. We believe strongly that the power belongs to the people. Building the people's power is something that at the right time, no instrument of the state can surmount the people's power. No political party, politician should have a single plan of action. Election is just one of the ways to access power. A political party or politicians, we have the army, we have administration, we have electoral board, we have electoral officials, we have international partners, and then the people. You get the point. So it's a matter of plan A, B, C, D. It's something that parties seek to design. These things are changeable over time. As per the electoral code, we are so conscious. We know that the president of Constitutional Council is appointed by the President of the Republic. We know that the president of or the director of ELECAM is appointed by the president, and all the like and all the like. But at the same time, we are telling Cameroonians that even with a dysfunctional electoral code, even with a bad constitution, you can bring in good leaders out of it. It's possible. It's possible. Cameroon has never had more than 5 million people going in to vote and actually voting. Cameroon has never had that kind of up to 15 million people registering to vote. So you see that the lower the percentage of people registering, the ability for them to reap, the higher the number of people registering and participating, the lower the ability to vote. We are in Android generation. Things are no more like in the archaic world. If a vote is taking place in a local constituency between two parliamentarians, before such election is done with observers around, they already know who is the winner, and that is the tendencies that we saw in 2018. It's just that our electoral periods in Cameroon are very long, in the space of 5 and 7 years respectively, which is always changeable by degrees. But notwithstanding, if we stand firm, we stand strong, we mobilize ourselves, we will be able to get something good out of what is still existing. All cannot be done at the same time, but with the good and credible leaders around, try to follow them, support them, and be with them. And we are so sure that we could obtain a new federal republic with constitutional democracy. And young people should know that this arrest and intimidation is not bringing us down. If need be for me to sacrifice and be in that condition where I have to give my own liberty for the sake of putting Cameroon on the right track, I have to do it. And even if it means to pay the ultimate price, why not? We just have a few decades to live on earth. Why live a dishonorable man? I cannot live in a country where I don't have the ability to exercise my political rights as an aspiring politician. It's better to live effectively or not to live at all. That's my philosophy.
Thank you, Fabrice Lena, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Points tonight. Just to remind our viewers that you're the Secretary General of the Popular Action Party, the PAP. And now, viewers, thank you so much for being with us. That does it for this edition of the news. Our programs continue on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now, and stay with us.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
If you suspect